I think in spite of my differences, I've been able to grow up in a town growing up with murder, gang fights at school, pot smoking at home, pot smoking going on the bus ride to and from school, girl fights with blood, guy fights with guns. As a young child, my first memory of violence was before I was 5 years old when my father was screaming at the top of his lungs to my mother. Then it was my father beating my brother with a belt across his back. Did you know that 30 to 60% of perpetrators of intimate partner violence also abuse children? My mother survived an abusive relationship with my father until I was 13 years old. My father tried to excuse his behavior. He tried blaming it on alcohol, but that did not work for too long. As a result of the abuse my father inflicted on my mother, on my brother began to sexually abuse me, my dad's most prized possession. My brother sexually abused me until I was 11 years old, until I had the courage to tell my mother, at which point she got me into the Rape Crisis Center, which is now Solace out in the atrium there. Did you know that 1 in 10 calls made to alert police of domestic violence is placed by a child in the home? Did you know that 1 of every 3 abused children becomes an adult abuser or victim? My brothers were typical victims. They are now typical offenders. Yet I too am an offender at times because children who witness violence at home display emotional, behavioral disturbances as diverse as withdrawal, low self-esteem, nightmares, self-blame, and aggression against peers, family members, and property. I was a typical victim of domestic abuse due to my own choices of a boyfriend while in high school, where he put his hands around my neck 1 year after we began dating. He then punched through my mom's kitchen window and received over 500 stitches in his forearms. I am a typical victim because domestic violence is the leading cause of injury to women between the ages of 15 and 44 in the United States. That's more than car accidents, muggings, and rapes combined. In the state of New Mexico, domestic abuse or domestic violence is defined as an assault, which is verbal abuse, making someone feel in fear that they're about to receive a battery. A battery is any unwanted touching. It doesn't have to result in blood or bruises. 13 years ago, when I was a senior in high school, my aunt was brutally murdered by her drug dealer and self-proclaimed boyfriend inside the safest place I knew, my grandmother's home. My aunt was a typical victim. There are 16,800 homicides due to intimate partner violence annually. It was then that I decided to empower myself by focusing on my education. I went to community college, I graduated with my associates and then with my bachelor's in 2007. I was then recruited to work as a victim advocate at the 1st Judicial District Attorney's Office, handling all domestic violence cases in the Rio Arriba, Santa Fe, Los Alamos, and Tierra Maria cases. It was then that I discovered the intricacies of navigating through a complicated life issue such as that of domestic abuse. It was through my advocacy through others that I found how to advocate on my own behalf. It is now working at Esperanza Shelter and Support Center that I have been blessed with the ability and the opportunity to work on the front lines with offenders, witnesses, and survivors of domestic abuse. I strive to bring awareness to my home state, community, about the current state of social injustices for young women in Española and in northern New Mexico. Domestic abuse is not how life is supposed to be lived. There is a different way of being, and I am here to tell you today that there is hope for a new day, a new tomorrow, and with strength, determination, and those of us here today to help lift you up. There is no typical way to thrive. We can and we will change the story of female injustices in Española and northern New Mexico, and we start that change today. Thank you.